I love variations of this joke because everyone hates lawyers until you need one. And then who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Meme review! Meme review trademark of PewDiePie, all rights reserved. All right, let's just get at it. Legal memes, 2021 style. Let's do it. I graduated from law school 6 years ago with $250,000 of student loan debt. After years of hard work and tens of thousands of dollars of payments, I can officially say now that I owe $315,000. Very, very true. Law school is extremely expensive. $250,000, $250,000 for 3 years. Not unusual. If you are making the minimum payments, yeah, that amount can actually increase over time. Now, lawyers do tend to make more than the national median salary, but that doesn't mean that the amounts that they pay for law school aren't huge. I know a lot of people who owe more now than they did when they graduated. And of course, a lot of people rely on loan forgiveness. They might work for a public interest law firm, or they might work for the government in the hopes that over time they will have their loans forgiven by the government, which can happen. There were talks of scaling that back, but man, it's kind of a crapshoot. You know, what if you leave the government job? It can really work out poorly sometimes. So toss a coin to your lawyer. The first thing I learned in law school is to check how long something is before I start reading it. This is actually really, really good advice. Not all cases are created equal. In law school, you get these case books. You are supposed to read these cases. But some cases are 20, 30, 50 pages long, and other cases are condensed and they might only be 2 pages long. And the amount of information that you're probably going to take from each one of these cases is about the same. Everyone has a limited amount of time in law school. I have a whole course on how to do well in law school, and time management is a huge, huge portion of that. Knowing that you might have to skim one case as opposed to reading one case in depth, and maybe knowing ahead of time which cases are the important ones and which ones are filling in some background idea, super, super important. This guy gets it for sure. All right, keeping with the law school theme, law school has taught me the valuable skill of discussing the readings without having read the readings. Hashtag law student problems. Yeah, the other part of that would be sometimes you're not able to get to all of the readings. It takes forever to read these cases, and you might have literally hundreds of pages to read per night in law school. Now, there's a whole cottage industry of supplements that help you get through this and synthesize everything into smaller, more manageable pieces. But sometimes there's just way too much reading and you have to let things slip. Of course, you have to worry about the Socratic method so that if you're not prepared in class, the professor might call on you and might grill you and you might not have done the reading, and that doesn't turn out well. Just, you know, see what happens in Legally Blonde.
Now, I assume all of you have read pages 1 through 48 and are now well-versed in subject matter jurisdiction.
Which is quasi-realistic, I guess. Okay, out of the law school and into the practice. When you check in with the clerk and try to get priority with the sunglass shades. So here's the background here. Every courthouse has a court clerk. They're an administrative official, but they can sort of control your destiny. There might be a court clerk for the whole courthouse, and there might be a court clerk for the particular judge that you're in front of. And they control the calendars of the judges. So sometimes you should probably spend some time getting to know your court clerk, and at least being nice. There's so many lawyers who are just really, really mean to these court clerks, thinking that they're beneath them to talk to them. But in reality, a court clerk is the grease that makes the wheels of the courthouse work. So you better be nice and, metaphorically slide into their DMs, I guess. I hate citations. Why can't you just trust me? Oh my gosh. Having practiced law for, 12 or 13 years now, citations are the lifeblood of any legal brief. You have to cite any proposition of law that you're saying to the judge. Otherwise, court and counsel will look at whatever you have just said with a great deal of suspicion. No one's going to trust your citations. And the funny thing is, when we do scripts here on Legaleagle, you don't usually see it, but the scripts have on average 75 or 100 citations because we have to do a lot of research because we can't get these things wrong. Whether we're putting something in front of the judge or putting something in front of all the people on YouTube, the citations are important. And although you might not see the citations, they're definitely there. Unemployment checks, murder hornets, quarantine, loan debt, coronavirus. I'll go to law school. That's fine. That's fine. Oh my God. So Shed a tear for the law students who have been going to law school in 2020 and 2021. It's completely different. It's all virtual. You are losing out on a whole lot of the advantages of law school. And it's really unfortunate. And not only is it, the whole world is sort of on fire or whatever, but yeah, to add law school on top of that, and you don't even get to interact with people in person. Now, maybe that's a good thing because you're not getting the stress by proxy of all your fellow law students. Man, that would be really tough to add on all of this stuff with law school itself. Though, on the other hand, you're not gonna interact with a whole lot of people normally in law school anyway, so maybe it's best to get law school out of the way while everyone is cooped up, and then, you can leave law school and re-enter society like a normal human being. Maybe that's not so bad. Which Supreme Court justice flushed the toilet on today's conference call? Oh man, this was a huge deal. Someone actually flushed the toilet while on an oral argument with the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court famously doesn't allow video cameras inside of the courthouse itself. So you get a bunch of these like oil and pen paintings of people while they're presenting an oral argument. But now in the coronavirus times, they have had to adapt and they had to go to a dial-in voice conference system. And of course, one of the first oral arguments that this was happening, someone wasn't on mute and you could hear a toilet flushing in the background.
And what the FCC has said is that when the subject matter of the call ranges to the topic, then the call is transformed.
John Roberts must have been apoplectic because he cares about how the court is perceived. And if there's plumbing in the background of an oral argument, you can just imagine how furious he must have been. Not great for the image of the Supreme Court. All right, what law school looks like from Facebook user Trust Me, I'm a Lawyer. I mean, this is actually what law school looks like. This is not a joke. So one of these books is a case book, and then a couple of these books are supplements. I think there's another case book, and then there are, obviously tons and tons of highlighting. I would say that this actually underrepresents how much highlighting and interlineation and note-taking you actually take, and little plastic flags in the book. Law students actually have to deal with this crap. All right, how they welcome newly hired associates to a law firm. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So here's the thing with big firms. They pay a huge amount of money. They expect for you to basically devote your life to the big firm when you are a young associate, and they will actually train you how to be a lawyer at the highest levels of jurisprudence. I actually think it's a reasonable trade-off. I was in the big firm world for 10 years. And I learned to practice at the absolute highest levels of federal court, in high-level state court proceedings. For a long time, I was completely devoted to that big firm, and I actually wouldn't trade that forever. You know the phrase, they don't pay me enough for this crap? Well, big firms actually do pay you enough for that crap. Whatever that crap is, you kind of have to do it, and it's a reasonable trade-off because law school doesn't really teach you how to be a lawyer. You have to learn that on the job. Not for everyone, it's hard to get into, but the trade-off is sometimes worth it. When you start working at your first job after law school, I don't know shit about All right, I think we had to probably bleep that one out. So as I was just saying, you graduate from law school, you don't know anything. You don't know shit about So true, which is why it's often a good idea to work for a big firm or another experienced lawyer who knows what they're doing. Because when you graduate from law school, you don't know anything. All right, in keeping with the practice, me coming up with multiple good points after the hearing. Oh, with the drag on the cigarette. It happens every time. Well, most of the time, because you're at oral argument, you're at a hearing, and in the spur of the moment, the judge has some crazy question. You really try and shed this as hard as you can. You come up with as many arguments as you can. You talk with your coworkers, you talk with your friends, you try and come up with every argument that you possibly can, but inevitably, there's gonna be something you didn't think of, and of course, the second that you leave the courthouse, you think of all of these great arguments that you could have made, and you didn't. C'est la vie. All right, I shall grant you 3 wishes. I wish for a world without lawyers. Done, you have no more wishes, but you said 3. Sue me. I love variations of this joke, because everyone hates lawyers until you need one. And then who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters! All right, the judge threw out our case. Don't worry, I brought it back to him. A legal corgi! Ah! Legal corgis have become a real thing. I think it was partially because of George Conway and his love of corgis, and there are a couple other legal commentators that just have corgis and love them. So they've sort of been appropriated as the dog of the legal profession. This is a good boy. He brought his case back. First, we'll file a baseless voter fraud claim, then it will be 12b6'd with prejudice, then we'll get Rule 11 sanctions, then we'll get Rule 11 sanctions. So this pretty much sums up all of the elections cases in general. A 12b6 is famously a motion to dismiss in federal court. It is something that you file when the claims themselves don't rise to the level of a legal claim as a matter of law. And then when that is filed, then you can get Rule 11 sanctions against the counterparty. Though actually, I don't think this is accurate, because Rule 11 sanctions require you to file a motion for Rule 11 sanctions, then the other party gets a safe harbor provision. They can withdraw their offending pleading. I'd have to check the case law on this, but I'm not sure if you get the case dismissed on a 12b6 that you can then go back and get Rule 11 sanctions, because at that point, the case has already been dismissed and you weren't able to allow them the safe harbor and the withdrawal. So you might have to file your Rule 11 motion before you file your 12b6. I'll have to think about that. Perhaps not an accurate legal meme here. I don't know. You know, I would have expected more legal accuracy from Pixar or DreamWorks or whichever what is it? Minions? Mastermind? I can't remember. Is my client guilty? Probably, but probably is not good enough. I've actually never heard it said that way, but this is accurate. So if you are talking about guilt, then you are in the criminal law world, which means that you're talking about the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt. Probably just means that you are 51% sure. Now, probably can also encompass more certainty than that, but probably in my mind brings up the civil standard of preponderance of the evidence, which again is just barely more than 50%, more likely than not. So you've got the defense case and the plaintiff's case, and whichever one is more likely, that's who you have to find for. Civil cases don't have a beyond a reasonable doubt standard. I probably would not argue this in a criminal context, but it is true. If you only probably think that someone committed a criminal crime, then you can't find them guilty. That's not good enough. Okay, looks like we're back to law school again. First day of med school. Each of you is brilliant and will change the world. Here's a white coat. Go and do well. First day of law school. You're all dumb for doing this. The 4 of you who survive will work for evil corporations. Here's a 100-page reading assignment. It's due 2 hours from now. Yeah. I'll have to talk to Dr. Mike about this one. I don't know if they actually said you're all brilliant and here's a white lab coat on day 1. I kind of doubt that. I'll have to find out from him. The law school stuff is a little bit more accurate, though while there are definitely 100-page reading assignments, they aren't due 2 hours from now. And there's really no assignment. You don't really get tested until the very end of the semester, which I think is actually worse. Instead of having lots of little assignments to do along the way, you're only tested by really one big assignment at the end, and sometimes there might be a midterm in the middle. Now, more than 4 people are going to survive, and not all of them are going to work for evil corporations, but definitely, yeah, some of them will. All right, going with How I Met Your Mother, ways in which you're wrong, ways in which I'm right. Lawyered. I loved Marshall in How I Met Your Mother. There's one particular episode where he's being wined and dined by a giant law firm. We've talked a lot about giant law firms today. It's so funny because he's being wined and dined not only with Kobe steak, but also Kobe lobster, which is lobster that's been fed nothing but Kobe steak.
You can really taste the beef in that lobster.
I think that is one of the funniest and most accurate depictions of being wined and dined by these huge law firms. They are going to work you to death, but at least you'll get a nice steak dinner out of it. Made non-equity partner, so I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious. Oh, this is a deep cut. Let me see if I can explain this. In the law firm world, you have partners. The partners are the bosses. They tend to be the managers, the supervisors. And there are 2 kinds of partners. There's an equity partner who shares in the profits of a law firm, and then there's a non-equity partner that is basically just a senior associate that gets a nice title and maybe some more responsibility. And on top of that, they probably have to pay into the partnership as well. So it's kind of the worst of all worlds. You don't get all that much more. You don't share in a profit sharing agreement with the firm itself, because you don't have any equity. So yeah, things are getting pretty serious. Because they're not.
Jeez.
Oh my God, I'm gonna get so many phone calls from my friends who are non-equity partners in law firms. Yeah, well, sucks to be them. My face when someone argues when the ruling is in their favor, with the Tucker confused face. Oh, this is so great. I have seen so many lawyers who they can't help themselves. They really like to hear the sound of their own voice. And so they're in a hearing, they're winning with the judge. The judge is going to rule in their favor, and they just keep talking. Pro tip, if the judge is going to rule in your favor, shut up. And I have seen lawyers snatch defeat from the jaws of victory because they just want to keep talking. All right, speaking of mercurial judges, when both parties agree to a continuance but the judge denies it. This happens so much too. So again, the judge, through their proxy, the court clerk, can set their own schedule. And oftentimes, both parties will agree to a continuance of a hearing or a trial or whatever, but the parties don't get to agree to these things. They have to get the judge to sign off on these things, and the judge is gonna judge, especially in federal court where the judge just doesn't care about anyone else, because they are the master of their own universe. Assault with a deadly weapon. Oh, that's cute. I think everybody gets this one. No explanation needed. MPS Esquire says, do you wear glasses and a face mask due to COVID-19? If so, you may be entitled to condensation. So true. So true. Look, I'm gonna laugh at dad jokes. I just am. Sorry. Hey, this magic 8-ball just keeps saying it depends. Oh, that's the special lawyer edition. Oh, I mean, you guys know this. It always depends. The law is complicated. Facts are complicated. You're gonna ask me a legal question and I'm gonna tell you it depends. So, ooh, that's a great merch idea. Would you guys buy that? A special Legaleagle edition of a magic 8-ball that just says it depends on every roll? All right, and the next meme is, I wanted to be a lawyer, but I didn't have the stomach for it. It's a shark. Look, you gotta be a shark sometimes especially when you're in litigation, not so much if you're a transactional lawyer, but even if you are a transactional lawyer, sometimes you have to have those kind of killer instincts to get the business deals done. But the litigators certainly need to have shark-like instincts, or even more than shark-like instincts, because the sharks sometimes don't have the stomachs for it. But of course, seeing the shark makes me really want to go to the beach because the weather is getting so much nicer. But of course, my allergies are getting terrible. You know what? Allergies be damned. I am going to the beach. The weather is too nice. And of course, to do that, I have to change out of my custom Indochino suit and wear something more casual. And for that, I turn to Mack Weldon. If I'm not in court or on a Zoom call with a judge, I'm often wearing Mack Weldon, or I'm at home wearing pajamas. But Mack Weldon is my choice for wearing stuff outside of the house, which I haven't done in seemingly forever because they focus on smart design and premium fabrics. Mack Weldon is probably best well known for their insanely comfortable boxer briefs, including their brand new Stealth Boxer brief, which is great for working out or just hanging out. I wish I could show you one, but oh, wait a minute. These things are so comfortable, I forgot I was actually wearing them. I wish you could feel how comfortable this is. It's insanely comfortable. And if you're watching this channel, you're probably an adult and you probably deserve to have nice boxer briefs, and I can tell you it makes a world of difference. I also love their incredibly comfortable polos like these and their radius pants, which are halfway between slacks and joggers. So I don't have to choose between wearing something incredibly comfortable like sweatpants and looking presentable like an actual human being when I decide to actually leave the house. And speaking of which, I don't even have to leave the house to order Mack Weldon. I just order multiple sizes, have them shipped to my home, and just return the ones that don't fit right and keep the ones that fit perfectly. So if you would like to try Mack Weldon, you can get 20% off your first order. Just go to mackweldon.com/legaleagle or use the promo code legaleagle at checkout. Or of course, you can click on the link below in the description, which really helps out this channel. And of course, Mack Weldon's loyalty program will get you 20% off plus free shipping and access to new products before everybody else. It's automatic when you sign up and order at mackweldon.com/legaleagle. So as we all re-enter society, you owe it to yourself to get some insanely comfortable, great-looking clothes from Mack Weldon. And of course, if you want to try their famous boxer briefs and you decide for any reason that you're not satisfied, you can just keep them and still get a refund because nobody wants to return used underwear. So again, just click on the link and go to mackweldon.com/legaleagle or use the promo code legaleagle for 20% off your first order. And clicking on those links really helps out this channel, and it'll help you look fly. So, do you have some legal memes or some legal jokes that I should respond to? Please let me know in the comments below, and check out this playlist over here with all of my other real lawyer reactions and of course my famous legal meme review. So click on this playlist or I'll see you in court.